teaching you the art of industrial real estate. This is On Air with Team Jensen.
Hi. Hello. Welcome to episode 14 of On Air with Team Jensen. We have today the Cargo Largo team with us. We have President Matt Frerking and we have CEO Deepak. Thank you guys for coming on with us.
Thanks for having us.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Lucky 14.
Excited to kind of dive into things and talk about everything Cargo Largo and your guys' role there and just your experience here in Kansas City and Independence. So
Let's start with a little history of how Dee, as a young man, got involved in this crazy business, or in a sort of business that turned into this business.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the insurance salvage business. My dad started working with insurance companies that would insure large commercial enterprises like car dealerships and lumber yards, and when they would have a loss, they would pay off the claimant and get the goods back, and that's not really the business that insurance companies are in, dealing with products. So he started off buying those goods on a speculative basis, and that quickly evolved into representing the insurance company when they would have a loss. And over time, they would actually go in and with the adjuster and help establish value so a claim could be paid. And then my dad's company would deal with the post-loss logistics, including selling the product. And so in 1985, we had an opportunity to work with our first freight carrier, Yellow Freight, who was based here in Kansas City. Shortly after that, I joined the company again, this time to run it. And we began working with our second freight carrier in 1989. And really at this point, we were not dominant on the insurance salvage side, and I saw an opportunity working with the freight carriers to provide a standardized service that just wasn't available. In 1991, my wife and I bought the freight carrier assets of my dad's company, and Recovery Management Corporation was born.
Here we are. and for the listeners, you might hear some more background noise than usual. Today, we actually have a fun setting. We are here in the Cargo Largo retail store. So if you're not with us visually, that's the noises you're hearing, just as a heads up.
Their brand new building, corporate headquarters, warehouse, and retail store.
Yep, absolutely. But no, Dee, I appreciate you sharing kind of the backstory. And so how, at your point, or what point in your life did you really get hands-on and start taking over the company? And as far as the Cargo Largo name and brand, is that something that you created later in the journey, or?
It is. Just to speak to that for a minute, my dad's company was called Underwriters Sales Corporation. When they opened the outlet, which was at the same time we started working with freight carriers, then the outlet was known as Underwriters Sales Outlet, or USO. And so when we bought the business, we named the outlet Recovery Sales Outlet, or RSO. Some people still refer to it as that. So around the turn of 2000, we had a couple initiatives that we were looking at. One was launching an internet business, an e-commerce business.
Oh, that'll never work.
And the other was a remote location out in Sacramento. And just didn't think that the recovery sales outlet, or RSO, had the type of, certainly didn't have name recognition and didn't really seem to have the cachet that would benefit us on a
Right.
national basis. So Cargo Largo was born at that time. One of the sort of bylines that we had when we launched it, it was RSO with the cherry on top.
I like it. And how long, Matt, have you been with the team?
Coming on 12 years.
Okay.
Been president for the last 3, and it was an exciting time to come on board as president in the pandemic and building this building. So, been a fun ride.
Yeah. Well, and you've been an integral part of putting this building together, and we've really enjoyed working with you. And as far as in your 12 years, I know the growth that you've seen has probably been absolutely incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the next 5-10 years, now that you guys, I feel like you guys are really proactive in setting yourselves up for the future. But what are some of the things you're looking forward to, just down the road here at the new facility, and just different opportunities you see for the team as you guys evolve and grow?
There's a lot. So you guys know this story, but for the audience, we've been saying no to new customers and new clients for 3 or 4 years. We just didn't have the space, didn't have the resources to handle it. A big part of what this building provides is us to say yes. So what's on our plates, Dee and I have talked for the last 3 weeks, what's on our plates right now is determining who makes the most sense for us, who makes the most sense for our customers to bring in new types of product, and who can we add value to as a client. So that's kind of what's on the immediate horizon. Fill up the space. We have some space now. We have the facilities built to handle more product. We are more productive in this space than we were in previous spaces. So that's what's immediately in front of us. We've talked about other locations for retail locations. Dee talked about the e-commerce presence and how long we've had one. There's been multiple initiatives to change. It's changed a lot just in my years here. We got to a point probably 7 years ago where 45% of our sales were coming on e-commerce, and now it's down to about 30%. And I actually think that's a good thing. So we're selling a lot more locally. The bid sale has grown tremendously. The retail space has grown tremendously. And I don't want to change that. I'd rather sell more locally for a lot of reasons. But there's a lot of things we can do to increase our presence online, and that's one of our focuses in the near future.
Go into a little detail on the bid sale. Again, we all know what we're talking about, but first of all, back up just a bit. You went from 5 to 6 different facilities into
7, but who's
7.
counting?
From 7 facilities, and now you're down to 3.
Down to
Correct.
3.
Okay. The mothership, which is where we're sitting, is about 525,000 footprint, and another 120,000 feet of mezzanine. So, and the whole operation, a large part of the operation is run from here. Your corporate headquarters. You've gotten everybody kind of under the same roof now, and then of course have started out to have outlying facilities again.
Yep.
Of which, I guess that's a good problem to have, and hopefully hopefully it'll never end.
Correct.
So,
Well, one of the things that has always been a challenge in our business and will always be a challenge is what is the appropriate amount of space. We are in a dynamic business. 99% of the goods that we receive, we don't know what they are or the volume of them in advance. And so, playing a defensive game, we ideally have slightly more space than we need. But you asked about the bid sale. That is essentially a live auction that takes place every Thursday from 2:30 to 8 here at the headquarters building.
anybody off the street can come in and register for the auction and participate.
Over 18.
Anyone over 18.
Correct.
Okay.
And I would tell you, if you have not been out to see one, I would highly recommend it. There's a lot of awesome stuff out on the floor to bid on, and it's quite a sight to see with the amount of product they have and just all the different items they have on pallets and whatnot. It's a cool experience.
Yeah, there's about 1,500, 1,600 lots right now, and what a lot is varies. A lot of that is pallets, mixed pallets, would be similar commodities like a pallet of hardware or plumbing or cleaning items. Also sell single items. If you follow our Facebook page, we had a Kansas City Chiefs Letterman's jacket on this week that's gotten a lot of hits around right now. You know, good time to sell a Chiefs item.
Yeah.
Sell laptops and power tools and literally everything. So
Yeah.
Dee talked about not knowing what's coming in the door on a weekly basis. You will, if you're here long enough, you will see everything from government things that we shouldn't get, and we have to get back to the government, airplane parts and manufactured pieces that we have no idea what they are, and takes a lot of research to figure out, to basic consumer goods.
Right. Yeah, I saw pallets with a bunch of Reese's and things, and I
Yep.
was tempted. And then also, you know, there was a cool, like a Chiefs, like miniature stadium I saw, and then another cool one I think is kind of unique for the parents out there. There was a lot of those small bounce houses that I think are pretty popular with the kids and nice
Yep.
to have to roll out in the backyard.
Absolutely.
So, some pretty cool items there. But no, just and Matt, just curious, and I don't know if we've ever talked much about it, but before your 12 years here, you want to touch on kind of what your background was and where
Sure.
you were before?
Sure, I'm a grad of the University of Missouri.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
M-I-Z.
I have a degree in anthropology, which
my.
makes very little sense to everyone that I bring that up to. I will
think
say,
it makes perfect sense.
it served me very well in my growth as a manager and a leader. So there was a big diversity background. It was a BS, so it was in science, the critical thinking path, and a whole bunch of other things. So it's not where I thought I'd be when I was taking those classes, but it's worked well. So when I graduated, I went into retail. I worked for Toys R Us for 13 years before coming here. So store manager, did loss prevention, asset protection, did a lot, helped on remodels, and learned a lot of skills there, but wanted out of the retail world, and had somebody working here at Cargo that had asked me for maybe 3 years to apply and come in, and he finally bent my arm back enough, and I did, and now I've been here for a little over 11 and a half years, so I must have liked it.
That's right.
So it's, Dee and I talk about this a lot with people, that you kind of love Cargo or it's not for you. It's diverse, it's the unknown, it's exciting, it's ever changing, and that excites me. So every day I have a new challenge to come into, and really our associates have the same thing. Every day there's a new challenge that they're coming into to figure out and have to learn something new. And if you like black and white, this probably isn't the place for you. But if you want to adapt and be creative, it definitely is.
Yeah. Well, and I know you guys, just kind of switching gears a little bit, you guys have been such a key employer, supporter, and really just presence of independence. And if you could touch about your partnership a little bit there, I know they were integral in helping make this vision come to reality. And I know they're really important to your business.
Cargo for kids. Isn't that
Cargo for kids.
That's your.
Yeah, we've been part of Independence for 39 years now, and the community has always been very supportive of the business, and you know, since I first got involved out here, I've been part of the community. There's always been a effort in one form or another to maintain and develop and enhance Nolan Road. So that has really allowed me to engage with the community on an ongoing basis. And, you know, they've just forever been supportive of the business, and so it's been a natural to be part of the community and to give back. 12 years ago or 13 years ago, we started Cargo for Kids. You know, we had always, when we gave in some fashion or another to different causes, it was always focused around children and education. And it got to the point where we were so splintered, we saw it became clear that if we could focus our efforts, we would do more good than the way that we were doing it. And our marketing person at the time brought this, I would say, statistic to us, which at the time there were 600 children that during the course of the year were homeless in the independent school district, which, was just, hard to believe that the problem was of that magnitude. And so we came up with the idea for Cargo for Kids to be able, through the school district, to provide students that were homeless or became homeless backpacks full of their grade-specific school supplies, and then that evolved into also including hygiene supplies.
Yep.
And unfortunately, as we know, nationwide, the homelessness issue has increased. And so, the last few years, I think we've been giving about 1,000 backpacks a year. It's something that, we're honored to be able to participate in. At the same time, it's an unfortunate reality of, today's society.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I, just growing up, I remember as a kid, one of the most exciting things for the school year was getting the new school supplies. Sure. And so I think it's a special thing that you're making sure that's happening for those kids. And, we've participated in the tournament a number of times out at Drum Farms, and it's a great day that your team puts on, and it's a lot of fun. And I think it's a great effort to support. And so I appreciate what you guys do there.
That speaks to a lot of things. The tournament has grown leaps and bounds over the last 7 or 8 years. There's a lot of just partnerships. So
Yep.
guys like you coming out and being part of that and helping us provide more support. The backpack count is somewhere over 12,000 that we've provided in the 13 years we've done this. We're starting to grow a presence. The hygiene Dee talked about, that's been going on about 5 or 6 years, and it's grown quite a bit. We've started doing a lot more in the winter with coats and hats and gloves, and it's the support from people like you in the community that come out and support us during that tournament for us to make a bigger, broader impact, and that's growing. And now that we've moved into this location, we've been connected with the independent school district, but we're trying to find ways to do that even deeper. And a lot of this stuff is ongoing conversations, so we need to get past the goal line and get some of these things actually happening. But we've had conversations about on-job training and some VOTEC pieces and scholarships and mentorships, and there is going to be a lot of fruit of that over the next year or two coming out, so we can just deepen the involvement in the community and keep doing whatever we can do to help. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You guys are a great corporate citizen in Independence, and in vice versa. Independence was very good to work with, and bring the significant investment that you all have made in this asset and in bringing all of your mothership and everything here. The city couldn't have been more cooperative and helpful.
100% agree.
And that makes a big difference, as we know.
Wholeheartedly agree to that. Matt, while we're talking about the golf tournament, the Cargo for Kids golf tournament, when is it this year?
That is June 14th, so I moved it up. It was in the fall the previous 4 years, and so if anybody doesn't like that we moved it to early summer, it's on me. But that's better for my schedule, so that's why we did it. I think we're probably going to fill the tournament up just based off sponsors. We might not have players from outside. So we'll open it up to actual players probably April 15th if we have some spots to fill, but I think sponsorships are going to fill it up.
June 14th.
Yep.
And that's a Monday, I assume?
Friday.
Oh, it's a Friday.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, I don't have my calendar out, but I'll probably be there. So.
I think there's a good chance.
Yeah.
Good chance.
Well, diving away from business life a little bit, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Dee, but I know you are a big-time musician, and I'm curious if you wanted to share a little bit about that, hobby of yours. I don't know if you'd call it a hobby or if you want to call it
A passion.
a passion, or maybe even a.
Certainly it's
He
passion.
just said big time, so you must be really famous.
I was going to do a little course correct there. I'm keeping my day job, but certainly I love music. I enjoy playing. I'm in a band called the Cheap Dates, and we play a little bit around town and have some dates that we're working on for this spring and summer. But always a fan.
Yeah.
Where's the last? I'm trying to think. Casey Beer Co.
Actually, I'll put in a plug here. The last gig we did was in early January. It was a wedding.
Okay.
One of the things that my wife Joyce and I support is the Inglewood Arts District in Independence. If people are not familiar with Inglewood Arts, I would encourage you to go to their website, but they are doing an incredible job of building the artist community and very specific aspects or types of art in a facility there in Inglewood. And the Cheap Dates have played at Inglewood Arts and will be playing again this spring at a date to be determined.
All right. Good. All right. And Matt, do you play guitar at all, or have any secret passions that you want to talk about?
I wish I had something that cool. No.
Besides Missouri sports.
Yeah.
Missouri, really sports in general.
Yeah.
So I am a big Tiger fan. Actually went to the game a couple nights ago, or was that just yesterday? 2 nights ago, Tuesday night. Royals baseball is probably my biggest passion, so I don't like telling people how many games live I go to in a year because it's almost obscene. I live downtown, so you can guess how I'm going to be voting here in a little bit because I can walk to the new location, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Chiefs are a passion. Sports in general. I take off a lot of time in March to watch the Big 12 tournament, even though my team's not in the Big 12 anymore. I still go every year. Usually make a trip to Vegas for March Madness, so sports kind of rule my life, so that's a big passion of mine. And outside of that, I do a lot of volunteer work. So World War I Museum is a place where I volunteer. Wayside Waste, I volunteer there. And so between those things and sports, that's kind of my life. And being here a lot.
I was saying, I think being here keeps you pretty busy
It does.
too. Yeah.
It does. Or at least the last year has.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, and are you a dog or a cat or a pet owner?
Definitely. Well, I'm not. My dog passed away a couple months ago, but
sorry.
It's all good. I'm had him for 17 years, so he and I both had a good life together. I will get another one from Wayside Waste. So I'm just kind of trying to wait as long as possible and do some travel and do that stuff first. So, but probably in 3 months I'll have one back. So.
Yeah.
Oh, puppies aren't very demanding.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you ask Dan and his wife Shelly, my mother, about that. I think they disagree a little bit right now.
No, well, he's no longer a puppy. I've got a 115-pound Bernese Mountain Dog, and of course, Dee and Joyce have 2 beautiful golden retrievers.
And part-time, our dogs, our daughter's puppy, when she goes to work, she drops it off at the house. And so that's a new.
Is that open to me too if I get one?
I'll let you negotiate that with Joyce. And if you can get her to say yes, I'm going to have you negotiate other things.
How about a little bit, I think another thing about your business that is very fascinating that a lot of people maybe hear and don't understand, but really I view a lot of your business as reverse logistics. And you want to explain that a little bit to the extent you're comfortable just talking about it? I mean, one of your major customers, as you said, every week drops how many trucks at your door?
Well, just to start with a description of logistics and reverse logistics, and I would generally describe logistics as the act of getting product from one location to another. Okay. And, so you can think about that as the supply chain, and it starts with manufacturers and how effectively they make a product and package it for shipment, for distribution, how effectively they label it for its destination, and then on the opposite end of that, you have us or companies as the consignee, the recipient of that product. And depending upon the situation and the mode of transportation, there are various touches to that along the way. So the companies that we work with, the biggest segment is the transportation industry, freight carriers, but we'll also work with other supply chain companies, be it a manufacturer, distributor, retailer. And what happens in logistics is most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, product gets to where it's supposed to go. What is not as visible is, the 1%, sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less, that doesn't get where it's supposed to go, and that is what we focus on. Most of the time, there's no damage to that product. There's just been a hiccup in the process, and it can happen anywhere along that chain. But that's where we focus, and our clients are focused on forward distribution, and that is what their systems are built around, their infrastructure, their thought processes, and so it is not practical for them to try and refocus the momentum of their organizations on this 1% or less of goods that don't get where they're supposed to go. So, that is our focus, and we've developed infrastructure and processes and protocol and skills around dealing with product that didn't get where it was supposed to go.
Mm-hmm. And it is a specialty. It's a different, like you said, Matt. If you're a black and white person, this might not be the best job for you because you got to think on your feet. I see it. I saw it every day out here when we were, watching this thing go
And our
on.
team is a big part of that. We have a lot, D talked to the expertise, but we have a lot of team members that have been here over 20 years and have seen the different wrinkles that can happen at different times. It's something I don't think a lot of people would think we do, but when we notice that something is a live shipment or shouldn't have come to us, or we can absolutely see the hiccup that was in that chain, we figured out where it still needs to go, we get those items back there for our clients. So I don't know, a couple 100,000 times a year, we get something that comes in our doors that we get back to the original recipient. So that's a big part of our business, and it's not something that makes us any money, but it builds trust and keeps those clients happy, and it's part of doing business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the public sees our sales channels, be that the store or the bid sale, e-commerce, direct sales, but there is a whole processing piece that takes place. You guys, of course, have seen it
Right.
in the warehouse, but that is about, we view ourselves as having a very specific responsibility to our clients and to ensure that their relationship with their customer is protected. So as Matt said, if we identify a shipment that can in fact be delivered to the customer, we notify our clients so they can do that. Or if there is something that we identify as contraband, we take that out of the process that would allow it to get to the public. So there's a whole sort of suite of services that we provide that allow us to act as a safety net for our client, the
Right.
goods that
Absolutely.
they generate.
Well, yeah, it's not just an easygoing typical distribution and retail store. There really is a lot of, it's not manufacturing, but there's really a lot of critical thinking that goes on behind the scenes with your processes. And you've kind of touched on it, but just if you could, just like I think it'd be interesting for the listeners, just like a little bit of like a time lapse, or just the life of a random shipment that comes in. Kind of what are the different directions it could go, and kind of just, I think it would kind of give the ins and outs if you guys are comfortable sharing all that.
Yeah, I'll try to not go down a whole bunch of bunny trails on it, but we talked about it multiple times already. We don't know what's coming in the door. So we're going to open a dock door, we're going to open a truck and pull off one package. There's a whole bunch of system things we do to tie it in, but that's not super important for this conversation. But the first step is just identifying, should we return this? Is it regulatory? We need to do something with it to protect the environment, or get this back to government agency, or is it a firearm that needs some other handling, whatever. So, or can we sell it? And if it's going to the sales piece, it gets moved on to, it does a very basic sort. They're going to match up hardware to hardware, electronics to electronics. Then it goes to our product management channels.
And you mean by that, by commodity?
By commodity.
Yeah.
Then it's going to get transported to our product management group, and there are channel experts. There is a channel that is hardware specific, clothing specific, food specific, and these people are experts at dealing with that types of product. So a lot of times they have passion with dealing with that type of product. When I started as an electronics manager here, and I had a passion for that type of product, and that's where I got put and made an impact pretty quick, I think. So those people that know what they're dealing with can make determinations based off of condition or seasonality or quantity about where the best sales venue is, how that, it's our responsibility to make the most money possible on that product, either if it's because we bought it or for our client on consignment. So they'll make determinations if we're going to hold it until the spring because it's going to sell better in the spring. If we think it has a better chance of selling for more money on bid sale versus in the store, and that's kind of the basic life path of it. And then being in one building, thing that's really improved. We hoped this would happen, but we've seen it a lot, is our ability to adapt now. So something's not selling well in the store, we can get it to the bid sale the next week, or vice versa. It didn't get we wanted $200 for it on bid sale, and it wasn't getting bid up that much. We know it's worth that much, and we can get it in the store.
Yeah.
Grand opening weekend, we had the community response to our grand opening was phenomenal, but we had so much product coming out of here. We were pricing product upstairs on the mezz, and it was in the store in 30 minutes. So we could meet the needs of customers are really focused on clothing, so we can hit that need that weekend. So
that's
you could have never done that before.
never done it. It usually is about 3 or 4 days in our previous setup.
Well, I love hearing that. That's that's awesome. And I think it was funny. We were here for the grand opening, and my mom pointed out that there was a sweater she saw in one of the racks over there and she was like, I just saw this at the village, in Prairie Village, and it was like $200, and it was like $40 or $50, I think. And so it was easy for her to start drinking the Kool-Aid, even though she's been out here a number of times.
Love it.
She's drank the Kool-Aid for a long time. Yeah. Well, okay, I've got just a general operational question. How many openings do you have here at this point?
Most of our openings are in retail right now. I think total we have 12 openings. We've done we've net added since July 48 people since we came in this building. So we've done a good job filling the needs that we had when we moved into this building. I'm hoping we got to ramp up we talked about we have to find those new clients and say yes, but as we do that, I'm hoping by next Christmas season we have about another 50 employees inside this building. We're at 492 right now, and I'd like to get 550.
Well, and for those of you who are listening, this is a climate-controlled atmosphere. It is a far superior facility that you might be able to work in than you might see in a lot of different places in town. So I would give it a thumbs up, certainly in that regard.
Yeah, the climate control makes a difference. It's world-changing.
You know, Dan, when earlier in the conversation, you made a comment, you have to be able to think on your feet. And that's true, really, for any position here. And I think a lot of people, certainly the overwhelming majority of our associates, like that aspect of their work here because they see how their decision making makes a difference. You know, it's not just you're doing some little thing and you never have any type of feedback on how that impacts the company. Again, not for everybody, but for those that like it tend to really like it.
I've seen it time and time again. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, and as far as just like some of the challenges that you guys had prior, when you were operating on a number of facilities, what were kind of some of the growing pains there that you saw that made you really focus in on this? Because I know Dee, I know you've been planning on this facility for quite some time, and the things change over time. But I think you were excited to finally make it happen. But over the years, kind of what was your vision behind wanting to do something like your headquarters here?
Sure. We were all in one building until I think it was 1993. And what we saw, I mean, on one hand, it was exciting that the business was growing to the point where we needed more space to be able to conduct it. At the same time, part of the team that it takes to run a business then has to relocate to that other facility. And so, yeah, from that point forward, I had a vision that at some point we'd be able to get back under one roof. And so fast forward over the years, we were at 7 facilities at the time we started building this one. And so then that ability to readily collaborate and make things happen in response to whatever situation just becomes more complicated because you're spread out, and it really challenges communication.
Yeah.
There were inefficiencies across the board, and the listeners can think about them, but product movement and different security challenges and management and culture was probably the ones that stood out to us the most. So our people in the satellite locations weren't getting the same interactions with HR or with their manager or the communications that we had coming out on a daily basis. Whatever it was, there were just gaps, and I think we did an okay job trying to fill those, but we've just seen the massive improvement on associate engagement. They all know the same thing. Everybody's on the same page. We're going to have to continue to fight these. We're in, like both of you all said, we're in 3 facilities right now. I'd like some satellite retail locations. We'll have to keep figuring out those challenges and how we manage them. But the more processing we can have in one place, the bigger chunk of our business, the core things that we do happening under one roof is hugely impactful to what we do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I appreciate you for touching on it. And out of curiosity, back, I think you mentioned 1985 as a date when you really started to become more involved. Did you ever envision a facility like this when you're driving down Nolan Road someday?
No, I can't tell you that I envisioned the physical aspect of it. It was always more the from a corporate culture, what it would mean.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we've been in some stage of planning this facility for 20 years, and the facility that was developed now is different than the facility that would have been developed 8 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yep.
So the physical piece has continued to evolve.
Yeah.
But interestingly, retired VP was here during the grand open, and he was asking questions and just said, on the other side of that wall, is that what this is and what's back here? And the core concepts, this is the same stuff we were talking about 10 or 12 years ago. It just got on steroids and got a little bigger and had some more nuance and maybe a lot more expense to it and a whole bunch of other things.
More velocity.
But the core of what we do is the same thing that we've been doing for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, that same foundation. Yeah.
Dee, I'm sure you've given this some thought, but what would your dad think of this facility?
Oh, I think he would be amazed that the business grew like it did.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun to look at the pictures of the old outlet. When we opened it, we had a 50,000 square foot building. Half of the space was dedicated to the client. We had a 7,000 foot store at that time. And, you know, the store and life was simpler back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed.
Well, and you guys have quite the store today, and you know you really can find just about everything here. I have to touch on the fact that when our team was setting up the audio equipment today, because of the unique setting, one of our cords wasn't long enough, and they were actually able to find the exact audio cable they were looking for, and they bought it.
Love
and
to
now,
hear it.
And now we're using it to produce the video. So
right.
I think you really can just find about anything in here if there's something you're looking for. If you're looking for a deal, it's a great place to be.
Well, and if you come out and can't find it, just come back the next day because it might be there then.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, before this. I was waiting in the massage chair and thinking about buying an air fryer, but I think with
Well, we need to get you back in that chair after we're done.
the summer coming around the corner, I need to maybe lay off the air fryer, but we'll, well, no,
That's the beauty of radio.
yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very
Good point.
true. And I can and even for the YouTube video clips, there's the table covers plenty. So
Well, and Kurt, we always do this with our guests, but with our vast listening audience out there, what would you like for them to know about Cargo Largo? What would you guys like to know about what they should take
I
away?
think it's obvious because of this building, but we're here to stay, so that's a big message just for the Independence area, and we're still growing. There's so much in front of us, so there's going to be more opportunities for employment for the customers, whatever it is. There's just a lot more in front of Cargo Largo, and want to thank the people that have supported us to get to this point, and that list is huge. But thanks to everybody in the community that's rallied behind us, the big fans that we have, and that's got us to this point and ready to keep going.
yeah. Well, and if someone's looking to apply or wants to join the team here, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you all?
Cargolargo.com, and there's a career path on the top right of that page, so that's the easiest way to do it, and we'll get in touch with you real quick.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate you guys coming on with us today, and unless there's anything else you guys have to share, I think we can call that a wrap, and it's our first ever in-store and at the on-site recording, and so thanks for inviting us in, and really enjoyed talking with you all.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alex.
Appreciate it, guys.
There you go.